need one of those. Do tracks.
All right. Oh, yep, there we go. And a very good evening. We're just about 2 minutes after 7 o'clock. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Regularly scheduled meeting of the Bedminster Township Committee. It is December 3rd, 2018. And can I get the Open Public Meetings Act statement, Sullivan?
Yes, sir. Adequate notice of this meeting of the Township Committee was sent to the Courier News in Somerville and to the Burnsville News in Whippany to all subscribers, and also posted here at the Municipal Building as of January 8th, 2018.
I'll ask you all to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have 2 sets of meeting minutes to review and hopefully approve, both from our November 19th session, our agenda meeting, and our executive session. Any comments or questions? Or comments, actually, only. If not, I'll take a motion.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Permits and raffles, we don't have any. So we can go, yeah, first in a while.
That's very strange.
But we do have, as we do at every meeting, 2 opportunities for the public to make comments. Any member of the public wishes to come up to that podium right in front of us, and that microphone, come state your name, your address, and what you'd like to say. Seeing none, there'll be another opportunity at the end of the meeting. Monthly report from our subcommittee chairs, and we will start with Mr. Stevenson.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, everybody. Just quickly on JVH, I attended the tree lighting ceremony since our last meeting. It was extraordinarily cold, but a very nice event. A lot of folks were there. Took my kids. They had a nice time. House looked great, and then of course following up, we were at Colonial Christmas this past weekend. It was over the past 2 weekends. Real nice event. The house looked great. They're crunching the numbers in terms of visitors, but I think the weather may have had some effect on that. We'll see what the numbers look like on that. But overall, again, another huge success. Everybody looked great. It's a real neat event. I hope that people went. And then on DPW, I don't want to get into the specifics, but working with John Mans on some personnel issues. We've got a couple of things coming up where snow season's upon us, so we want to make sure that we've got a full staff there, and we're making sure that our roads can be cleared. We've got a couple staffing issues going on. But other than that, everything looks to be pretty good. We're gearing up for budget season with that, so you'll see a couple things come through on that. But by and large, I think we're in good shape on that. And that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Icky.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening. Just a couple of quick updates. Rec has had some very successful after-school programs over the last couple of months, including their cooking program, their jewelry making program, and a number of other things. One additional piece of good news is basketball registrations. 107 total participants last year, up now to 162 this year, so a 34% increase. Thanks to all the good work from Robin Ray and her team in the rec committee, so that's great success. Just a quick note, Pluckman Schoolhouse Park, which is, a gem, needs a little refurbishment. The basketball court has reached the end of its useful life and will need to be resurfaced. John Mance has been looking at some different options of how we might accomplish that, and those numbers will be ready in time for budget season. The volleyball courts as well need a little refreshing, so we'll look to see what we can do in that respect as well. So we'll have those numbers ready when we meet next month and start the budget. And that's all I have.
Excellent. Mr. Jacobs.
On environmental, we have the pleasure of having the environmental chair here. So Renee, if you just want to do a quick update,
Sure.
Probably about the upcoming meeting.
It is. Renee Moreski, Chair of Environmental. It's been quiet. We haven't had too many meetings lately, but our meeting in December 19th, we've invited Fairview Farm Wildlife Preserve to come and talk to us here in the building December 19th at 7 p.m. here. They are located at 2121 Larger Cross Road in Bedminster, and as most of you guys know, that it was originally a dairy farm. Now it's this tremendous environmental preserve. We have lots of things to do for our homeowners. There's classrooms, restoration programs. They also do scientific studies. Raritan Headwaters is located there. You would never guess it, but there's a fishing dock, there's boats and stuff and swimming to be had. So we're inviting the public on December 19th to come and listen to Cindy, I can never pronounce her name, Erin Cloud?
Close? Erin Clue.
Erin Cloud, to come and tell us all about it, and we've invited people from the hills, and we put it on the website.
It's on the website today.
So, thank you very much. So we'll just try and get that information out, because I know that open space around here is really important, and I think this is, talk about gem, I think this is a gem that most people don't even know about. So come and see, come and listen if you can. December 19th at 7 p.m. here in Town Hall.
Great.
Thank you.
And Mayor, the Land Use Board did not have a meeting since our last meeting. And Colin, do you want to talk about the hike and bike presentation at Somerset County?
Yeah, I mean, it was last Thursday, very well attended. I think over 70 people showed up. It was standing room only.
Standing room only.
I was impressed with the level of data they had collected. I think, Larry, they collected close to 1,000 respondents to a survey. And they've got some good information in terms of expansion of the existing trail system. One thing that impressed me the most was they're trying to figure out the problem of, there are a lot of towns that have trails, but there's no interconnection. You have a bunch of islands throughout the county. And solving that problem of how to interconnect those trails is almost job one for them right now. So it's exciting to hear. They got some good feedback. They're going to continue to solicit feedback through additional working sessions that will be going forward through the course of the next year. I'm trying to think, Larry, did I hit on?
Great, yeah, you hit it all. The county, and just, I think we talked about this once before, the county had done outreach through a consulting firm, WSP, and WSP actually came to the farmers market to do talk to folks and do that same model there. Here's the county, here's the existing trail system, where would you like to see the trail system expanded, connections made, and they had the folks from WSP were presenting at that night as well. I did get a chance after the program to talk to Walter Lane directly from Somerset County Planning with Colin about some opportunities that we have in Bedminster, about interconnection within the existing trail system we have here, and coordination with the county, as well as other connections that the county can make connecting to the trail system elsewhere adjacent to Bedminster, and possibly thoughts of long-term expansion to connections to Patriots Path up in Morris County. This is, even though they've been at it for about maybe 8-9 months already, this is a Somerset County project that's going to be going on for some time to come. So there'll be continued developments as we move forward. The other thing that's not a subcommittee, and by the way, I also want to say that Natalia Herbowich, did I get that right?
Herbowich?
Exactly. She was in attendance as well, so Bedminster was well represented there. And then on Friday, both Colin, Mayor Parker, and I attended the Senate President's Roundtable on the Economic and Fiscal Policy, and this was a program that was run down at the county by State Senator, or Senate President, Steve Sweeney, and some of his assistants and aides, and a presentation about the, I guess it was more formalized presentation about the report that he had issued a few months ago about what the Senate President is looking for: fiscal reform, tax reform, pension reform, healthcare reform. If you want to throw your thoughts in, or you too, Colin?
I just wanted to say I would just formally thank Senator Bateman, because Senator Bateman, I believe, was the one that set this up, to bring Senate President Sweeney into Somerville to talk to Somerset County, mostly elected officials and folks that are, and there was assembly people there, freeholders there, as well as mayors, township committee people, which tells me that this is a bipartisan thing. And without going too long-winded, yeah, he outlined the problem that I think most of us already kind of know and is bubbling under the surface, is that the state's finances are in bad, bad shape. They've been in bad shape for a long time, and they haven't gotten much better. So I believe he's looking for what I hope will be a bipartisan effort to get a hold of costs. You guys have all seen that report because we circulated that report when it came out earlier this fall. But I'm very impressed because the Senate President gets it. He was talking about very specific things. He was talking about how quite often Trenton will come up with a solution, pass a bill, send it down, and out of the 565 municipalities, he'll get at least 500 come back and say, you know, that won't work in our town, and here's the long list of reasons. He was really soliciting input from the municipalities, too, to figure out ways to solve problems. He pushed a lot of shared services, which, and he also, which I've shared with Board of Ed President Reeves, a lot of issues with the school. Part of that report talks about doing away with K through 8 districts and folding them into the regional high school districts. And in fact, Mark Pfeiffer, who used to be a part of DCA, who's a Bedminster resident, chimed in and said, oh, there was an effort several years ago for Bedminster to join the Somerset Hills district. And I don't want to get into too much Board of Education business at a Township Committee meeting, but the point is he gets it. And he was talking about the benefits of having a shared curricula so that 9th graders all showed up with the same background. He talked about having the state take over special education, paying for it, so that people are not trying to move to the town that has a good special ed program, only for that school's Board of Education budget to get blown out of the water by state mandates. Senator Sweeney, it's personal for him. He's got a daughter with Down syndrome. He gets the special needs issue. He wants special education to work, but he realizes the problem that exists at the local level. So I wish him well, and I know we listened attentively and spoke to some of his aides afterwards, and him specifically, and so we thank Senator Bateman and we thank Senator Sweeney for moving forward and hoping that there's light at the end of the tunnel.
That's it, Mayor.
All right. Santucci.
Thank you, Mayor. I attended the historic preservation meeting last week. One of the topics that came up, especially in the historic preservation area, were the flags that people are using for advertising, whether it's business or some other event. And Sean Blinn actually volunteered to take a look at the sign ordinance just to kind of take a look to see what can or cannot be used, and really, especially in that area. So that was just one of the concerns that came up. So possibly for...
And hopefully coordinate with our zoning officer.
Yeah, so possibly for a recommendation in the future, maybe from, our committee, or it would be, I think it would be helpful to coordinate with the officer as well, to say, I believe, there are a lot of them popping up. We'll take a look at it. They're not the only people that have mentioned it.
Right.
Some citizens have mentioned it too, but we also want to make sure that our businesses are able to be seen, so it's a balance.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we're talking about. And we'll come back next time.
Mayor, I did neglect towards, we did have a meeting of the Shared Municipal Court and Advisory Committee. I think I'm forgetting a letter in there. To talk about the current operations of the court and start the process of looking at professional, as they start submitting their RFPs and RFQs for openings, and there'll be additional meetings of the committee with recommendations back to the Township Committee and to the Borough Councils of Peapack, Gladstone, and Burnsville after the committee makes its recommendations for retention of professionals. So that will be coming back to us probably at the next meeting.
Okay, we have a meeting Wednesday, so,
Right.
but you can't.
I can't go to that.
I know the mayor said he was going.
Yep, I will be attending that. And the only other thing I would like to bring up, and it's not a subcommittee thing, and it's, but I don't want to, by the time we get to Township Committee comments, we'll all be tired and want to get out of here. It was interesting, as I was home changing clothes to come out here, TV was on in my house, and of course they had the President Bush lying in state in the Capitol. And interestingly enough, as the few minutes that I got to look at the TV, they had General Powell, James Baker, Sir Brady. was right in between those two gentlemen. A former Bedminster resident, Secretary of the Treasury and former New Jersey Senator, still lives just on the wrong side of the border in Tewksbury, but is still a local resident. And I just can't help but thinking about President Bush, 41, and his legacy. You know, he came from a privileged family in the Northeast of Queens, but that wasn't enough. And he had to give back and serve his country. And this part of New Jersey has families like that. And some of those families are still doing things like that and still carry on that tradition. So it did kind of touch a little bit close to home for me. So anyway, moving on, administrator's report.
Yes, sir. I'd like to touch on maybe a little final discussion on the reorganization meeting. I was asked at the last meeting to do a little more research for other potential venues. We did contact Fiddler's Elbow. Their kitchen is under construction. They're not able to, they could give us a ballroom, they could give us some service, but they don't have a kitchen. So it was a bit of a problem. We contacted Hamilton Farms. They are closed the first part of January, cannot accommodate. We contacted Willow School, who also said they have a banquet room, but their chef is on vacation. We'd have to hire a caterer. We'd have to rent tables, chairs, and linens. We'd have to set up the room, provide all the things we need for a meeting, which is a lot of work, a lot of stuff to do. Reached out to Pottersville Fire Company. They will certainly be happy to entertain any date we might want. However, they have very limited capacity for seating. And it would also require a caterer and the like. And lastly, the school, they hope to participate and join with us as they usually do. Their ideal dates were either January 2nd, 3rd, or the 7th, because they have one of their new board members who's ready to be sworn in is away on a business trip the 4th and 5th and 6th. I told them at the time the only place we have left is Trump National, which has Friday the 4th and Saturday the 5th are the only two dates that I've left to offer. The school said they would be happy to provide us to have it in the cafeteria and get a caterer and the like. We would have to share in those arrangements, which haven't been started, of course. So that's what I had. I don't know if you want to talk about it more, but
Well, I hesitate to start and end the discussion because I will be the only one up here that's not participating, so. You need to tell me.
Whoa.
You'll be there.
What do you mean you're not participating?
She'll be participating.
No, you'll be the subject of some discussion, I'm sure.
I did tell Steve that, he looked at me like, what do you mean? I go, well, just saying.
I might be on vacation.
No, you will not be on
there's
vacation.
part of
So-
that that says the former mayors look back.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know, if you want me to finish my report, then we can go back and talk about it.
All right, well, why don't we go through the report, but we should, the only thing I will say is we should solve this tonight.
Yeah. We, as Larry said, we do have a meeting on Wednesday with the Shared Court Committee we have to finalize RFPs for some of the professionals and do a final review of some of the preliminary budget numbers, so that's Wednesday morning at 8:15. Colin and I met this past week with our IT manager to go over the IT assessment report that we received from the outside firm that came in to look at our IT here in our building and within the police department and public works. The report, Colin can tell you, it didn't have a lot of bad things on it. It was mostly pretty good things. We do have some upgrades we need to make, some recommendations. It's not costing us a whole lot of money. They're simple. They're handled within our current budget. There is an update to the Wi-Fi service that we have in this room as well as the rest of the building that was made, a recommendation. It would cost us about $1,800 to do that upgrade, and Colin and I talked about possibly using our communications grant fund that we have. We have about $8,500 left in that grant, and we could do the $1,800 upgrade using that grant money. It's an appropriate use, if you agree. The other upgrades are handled within our normal budget. Some of them are going to be done right away. Some of them are going to be done during the 2019 budget cycle. There is one upgrade, our workstations that go to Windows 10 in 2019 that will be a little more costly. We'll again have those numbers prepared for the budget cycle. But I understand that Windows 7 will not be supported come January 2020, so we need to do that upgrade in 2019. So, well, most of our workstations run on Windows 7. We need to have that upgrade, so that will be coming to you later. John Mance, myself, met with representatives in PPAC Gladstone regarding Sewer Transmission Advisory Board suggestion that we have a shared service with PPAC to manage we're already managing our sewer facility here. John Mance went through our current contract with them and identified savings of probably over $85,000 potentially if we were to take over the management and operation totally just between Bedminster and PPAC ourselves to do a lot of it in-house. So we're working out the agreement with an attorney we met with along with PPAC. We hope to have this in place before the end of December so we can have the agreement ready to go. But it is a nice savings for the sewer utility users. There is a report in with your books from the CFO. We've had our bond anticipation note renewal that we did through the sewer utility. You can see what those interest rates came in at. They're slightly higher than last year, but the interest we are paying to ourselves, to the sewer utility, so it's still a win-win. So those results are before you. And just lastly, I just want to remind you, we do have our holiday party here on December 13th at 12 noon, and you're all invited to attend. So please let us know if you're coming. And that's all I have.
Which brings us right back to the Betty Merck dinner.
Right. So if we were going to think about having it at the school, isn't it too late to do a liquor permit?
We could do it the next meeting.
Don't they need to get state approval?
The social fare permit takes approximately 15 days to do. So, I mean, there's a cost. It's $150.
And it's 15 days more difficult this time of year?
People are out. Yeah. So hopefully we would get it back in place. It's usually 15 days. It could be more than that.
And what's the practicality of, I mean, the kids are in school the number of the days that you mentioned, so you'd have to, basically, kids get out at 3:30, you've got to have set up and ready to go by 7 o'clock.
Yes,
It's a bit of logistics.
right.
Yeah.
Right,
Did they
the
offer-
dates they offered, 2nd, 3rd, or 7th.
Yeah, it's a Tuesday, or it's a Wednesday, Thursday, or Monday.
And
Kids are in
school's
school.
back.
Are they back in on the 2nd?
I don't
As
know
if
if
they're
The
back.
second or the third, maybe the third.
third, but that was the day they mentioned, right, third, yeah. So, you've got a 3-hour window to get everything set up and ready, that's,
I think that's going to be difficult.
And have they crunched numbers to the point where, you know, if they catered it, it would be X dollars per person?
And also, I think the question is, when the offer of assistance from the school, was it just for the
All I got was the location.
location, so that the curing, the organizing, that would all fall back on you?
And I think there's a different animal than a couple of years back when President Casella and the superintendent came trying to do that. And I think they came with a plan all ready to go. I think at this late date, that might be a little difficult to put together.
Right. Also, and this offer came from
The board administrator.
the administrator rather than from the board, so we're not even sure to what extent that this has.
Yeah, the main goal is to try and accommodate all their board members since one was going to be absent. But, And to be honest, if we do have it on the 4th, the Friday, they may not participate.
Sounds like if one of the folks getting sworn in is not going to be around, I'm not sure that they may do something small
Right.
and on their own. Having gone through that, we had talked in previous meetings about moving the event around to showcase different facilities and different options that we have in Bedminster. When it was interesting was the Burnsville News article that highlighted that, I think it was 5 out of the 6 or 6 out of the last 7 were at Trump. But running through this list of all the options that have been identified, Trump is the only one that's still a legitimate, real, practical option. And I don't see any other alternative that wouldn't otherwise involve spending a lot of money on outside catering, which is going to end up being more expensive than,
Yes.
and also the logistics of pulling it all together would fall on Judy, which I do not believe is fair. Doing it on a Saturday, I don't think that's going to be go over so well. No, Chief says no. So that really gives us that Friday.
In the way
We need to lock this up.
the way we've sort of, at least that I can see that we run it, we sort of wait to see how the election goes, and then the folks who are going to be ascending to the position sort of have a say in where it goes, but that limits your ability to do things like Mallinckrodt or AT&T, and where we can reach out to sort of a non-catering hall venue, but you're never going to get corporate approvals for that in the limited window following the election. But it would be neat to see a rotation through.
It's a beautiful vestibule that.
Right. And, that we do have facilities in town that can certainly, can house us, but it's the logistics and getting it done. And then, of course, you go down that road, you have no idea really what the cost looks like. So how do you send out tickets and tell folks that it's going to be a certain amount, but...
It's not going to be $40.
Right.
So what is interesting is that in the discussions with Fiddlers, is they certainly said with their expanding the chin, and they did indicate a willingness, and actually not only a willingness, but a desire to host when they are ready, which frankly could be next year, or well, could be next year. It will be next year. So perhaps one of the things that we try to do now is try to lock in that option for next year at Fiddlers.
I'll reach back out. We contacted everybody and had conversations. I'll reach out back again with a potential date for next year.
Right, and certainly, to the extent that we could plan ahead and also look at Mallinckrodt or AT&T, the vestibule at P-PAC Gladstone, or any other option that...
Or Hamilton Farms.
Or Hamilton Farms, which traditionally has been closed for that week, but you never know with advance notice, they might be able to do so. And then, we can, rather than planning a month out, we can give it a little more time, and maybe we can come up with a different facility for next year. But I think for this year, there's just one option that's been presented to us that's legitimate.
And it happens to be a great option. It's been an option that's been there every year for us whenever we've asked, and it will be the home of the PTO's Spring Fling in spring of 19. So it's always good to, it's always been a great venue. They've been a good host to lots of civic-minded things in the past, so we certainly don't have a bad choice. But yeah, well, I would agree it'd be nice to move it around.
One quick question for Judy. Judy, what was the pricing per person?
They would keep the cost the same,
Was that 40?
40.
I mean, look, for $4,
Just
that
the
facility itself
logistics.
is,
Just the logistics of hosting, having food and drink available for those who want it. Those who don't want it, don't have to have it, don't have to pay for it. I don't see how we can do better at this date.
And as always, that is all paid for by the people that come and wish to buy the dinner. It is a open public meeting, so it will still be open to all for no price if you wish to simply attend the meeting. Okay, I think we have a plan. All right, discussion of introduced ordinances. We don't have any. Introduction of ordinance. Ooh, we do have an ordinance tonight, which means we will have a follow-up, hopefully, at our next meeting. 2018-013, this is an ordinance authorizing the sale of the municipal property known as 130 Hillside Avenue, Block 28, Lot 1. This ordinance authorizes the sale of the former Township Hall property known as 130 Hillside Avenue. The public hearing for this ordinance is scheduled for December 17th, 2018, 7 p.m. in these chambers. Judy, anything you want to?
Well, I think Mr. Bellardo might speak to it. He's been in
Sure.
touch with the attorneys
Sure.
for both parties and contracts.
I'm pleased to announce that both buyers, Mr. Nicholson and Mr. Anderson, have submitted signed contracts for the price of the subdivided lots that our assessor indicated was the fair market value. So the mayor, should this be introduced tonight, will sign the contracts. Contracts are contingent upon adoption of this ordinance at a public hearing, which will be on December 17th, and of course a subdivision of the lots, but all of that will follow fairly quickly, and we will be finally done with 130 Hillside Avenue.
All of it?
All of it.
Except for the 1/10 of 1 acre that we
So,
were at.
so there was the 1/10 of the acre for the burying ground.
That's already been.
That's already been
Right.
subdivided, so we've got
So the remaining
0.23 acres and 0.36. All right. Judy, as always, prepared.
Yeah, Paul Ferreira's firm, Stephen Parent, I believe, the licensed surveyor, did a survey, I think the date is June of 2018, that shows the two remaining lots after subdivision.
So it looks like the Nicholson, they ended up getting a larger piece than
They
were
did,
looking at.
that is the 21,800 piece, and the Anderson piece is the 13,800 piece, so you're looking at consideration for the entire lot, if my math is correct, 34,000, add the 1,600, $35,600 to the town coffers for what has been a vacant lot since town hall was raised in the
2006, right?
2006.
And Judy, you had mentioned that it was made clear to the purchasers that the existing zoning stays in place, and that they're not guaranteed of any.
So there were no promises made, I mean, as far as any future zoning or applications that might come before the land use board, or construction, or things they want to build, or, you know, that's a separate step that would come later. No promises were made.
Yeah, the contract sets up a generous due diligence period for environmental and title and other conditions. Afterwards, once they pull the trigger and decide to close, they get a quitclaim deed. So not even a bargain and sale covenant against grantor's right. It's a quitclaim deed that says you get whatever we may have.
Whatever we have.
You know, subject to whatever rights. So both attorneys for the buyers have been great. The contract negotiation went very smoothly.
Other questions? Can I get a motion to introduce ordinance 2018-013?
So moved.
Second?
Second. This would be all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we will have the public hearing for that on December 17th.
And I will just say, on a personal note, I'm very pleased that this is getting done before the end of December. This is something that has been on our docket since Mayor Holtaway, going back about 9 years, and actually even before that, well before that, as it went. So, this is good, and I wish the best of luck. Hopefully we'll get it all done next time, and best of luck to the two new landowners. I think that's a good deal. All right, public hearing of ordinances. We do not have any tonight, but we do have a consent agenda. Any comments or questions on the consent agenda? If not, I'll take a motion.
Move to approve the consent agenda?
Looking for,
I'll second.
all right.
Okay, this would be a roll call vote. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Thank you.
New business. Does anybody have any new business that's not already on the docket? We can go to old business then. Anything new under short-term rentals?
So I put out some feelers, and there's nothing new on the litigation or violations front. Second and third letters have gone out to certain folks, but nothing in the courts. I did ask Janine, or I had Janine pull landlord registrations, just to get an idea of whether folks are coming down and registering and going along, if you will. And the numbers are up by about 33% from last year. So we had 84 to date this year, 62 last year. But interestingly, in 2016, there was 123. So we're still about 40 behind 2016. So I'm not really sure why that number is much less, other than folks selling and leaving. But we've got a modified charges for the registrations. It's brought in a little bit over $20,000 this year for us, but nothing as far as prosecuting any violations. We'll continue to monitor it, but looks like, folks are coming down, registering, and doing what they have to do.
Okay. Anything else on that? And break. Anything new?
I got a call last week from a resident on Steeplechase who wanted to just, we talked quite a bit about what we've been discussing at our meetings regarding engine braking. This resident noted that it seemed to be better for a period of time, but now it seems not to be. She's noticing it more than she did before. I mentioned we had a sign for a while, took the sign down, had to use the sign for other business. So she said she wondered when the sign might be going back, because definitely noticed a difference when the sign was up telling the truckers to refrain. So I didn't promise, any particular time, but she just wanted you to know that they appreciate your efforts, and any more you can do for it would be great, but if the sign would help in the meantime, that would be.
Okay. Let me go down to item D, Pluckerman Park. Do we have anything new on Pluckerman Park? No? Okay. And 56.
Well, on just on Pluckman Park, Judy, if you can just follow up with Jeff.
Sure.
He was supposed to have gotten some responses, which,
Yeah.
if he
He
has,
wasn't in
he's
last
not shared
Thursday,
them.
so I'll check with him tomorrow.
Okay. Which brings us to 56 Tuttle Avenue. Is there anything new on that that's for open session?
Ms. Sullivan instructs me that the owners have agreed to the escrow payment, so assuming...
That was received earlier today.
So
Really?
I will therefore go ahead and order the title.
Okay. Good.
The applicant came in today. I happened to be in town hall at the time, so Judy and I spoke with her for a while. She wasn't really on board with having to pay the full amount of the escrow, indicating that the adjacent property owner is also being affected by this, and that they should perhaps chip in, perhaps also the grantor of the lot, of the area, might have to kick in some too. So sort of just explain the reason for it was it's sort of out of the ordinary, and we need to determine, are you dealing with the township as a township piece of property, or are you dealing with a private citizen as their property? And it really depends on who you go to for permits. And I think at the end of the day, she understood. So she's going to reach out herself to the other folks that are involved to see if they would be willing to chip in, but does understand that if the answer is ultimately no, that her money will be used to order the title search. And then we also said, of course, if you can get a tri-party agreement amongst all of the stakeholders, then perhaps, there's no need to do it. If all three parties agree this is how it's going to be run, why have, and this is your point last week, Mayor, that just let's all get together and crack heads and get it done. So we'll see where it goes, but she was in for a while, and I will tell you, she wasn't all that happy about having to post the money.
Was there any
Did she
report?
post it?
Yeah, she
Yes.
came in later in the day and did.
So she's going to seek contribution from...
She sent
Correct.
an email after that. She copied me to the other property owners, asking them to participate. So whether that goes anywhere, I don't know. But she did post the check and understood that if their answer was no, like I said, that it was on her.
Is there any magic to doing the title search? Could you not order her own title search?
No,
Or would there be an issue with that?
We have to do it.
Okay,
so.
that's all right.
And it wouldn't save her any money.
Okay.
I mean, title is regulated.
It's really a pass-through, right, it's pass-through.
Okay. All right, well, thank you. Hopefully that'll,
I mean, one, I'm not sure if this is an old business, but it certainly came up in discussion last time. It was Doug Brown on Black River, talking about the speeding issues, and we had asked what the cost of those speeding signs,
the little ones, yeah.
the little signs are. That was something that John and Chief were going to talk about, which they will talk about at the next meeting.
Apparently, yes.
So there's a question about, remember we talked about, whether to purchase or trying to find or locate those signs, is that something that falls within the police or within DPW? And you said probably a little bit of both, John.
Correct, I did.
Okay.
Just a point of information, those signs, which are solar generated for the most part, it's going to be difficult to post anyone up there in that general area with all the trees up there, especially in the summertime. So,
Or just simply take a bunch of the trees out.
keep doing that.
I can say that with 28 days left.
We'll look into it.
All right. All right,
Oh, I had one other item.
sure.
We need to do a last meeting of the year, that it's a
Wrap up.
It's a
Yep.
wrap-up
Bill-
building
Bill-
meeting. It's
yep.
usually 8:30 in the morning.
Mhm.
Whoever can make it, and at least as long as I have 3 people, one could be on the phone if we had to finalize our bills. I would love to do the last Thursday. I believe it's the 27th.
7th.
I'm around.
Okay.
Do I have at least 3?
Yep.
Okay, thank you. So it'll be 30. I gotta notice it, thank you.
Will you have coffee?
I'll have coffee and donuts for you.
Donuts, you got it.
I'm there.
Okay.
All right, that brings us to our second and final opportunity for public comment. Anybody who wishes to be heard, that microphone, state your name, your address for the audio portion of the video recording.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Adam Siegel, 2100 Lamington Road. Here tonight to ask about our farmland preservation application. We first approached the council or the township about 6 months ago with a discrepancy in a conservation easement that's shown on the map but not defined anywhere. Wondering if any progress has been made or any kind of status can be shared as to where that's going.
Is that not on
Executive session.
right after
Yeah,
we're done
Beth
here?
Davison should be here at 30 to discuss that specifically.
I
There you
don't
go.
wanna lose my opportunity, so
Nope.
Your question is timely.
thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Adam.
Any other members of the public wish to come up and be heard? Seeing none, we can move to Township Committee comments. Mr. Stevenson?
I have no comments, thank you.
Mr. Hickey?
No comments, thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Jacobs?
No comments, Mayor.
Ms. Santucci?
I just wanted to say that the JVH Colonial Christmas on Friday night was great. They did a great job. I just wanted to echo what you said. It takes a lot of work. I don't always get to go each and every year, but it was a lot of fun and they did a tremendous job. So that's it. Other than that, no comment, Mayor.
All right, and I have no further comments for the evening. We do have an executive session. There is a resolution in the bill list coming out of executive session, so we may have some more activity here when we come out. If not, well, regardless, can I get a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We'll see you in the back. And Ms. Mareski can join us to observe. Are we back on?
Yes, sir.
And at 9:52, we are out of executive session, and we have a couple items. We have Resolution 2018-096, stipulation of settlement, Dapkins v. Bedminster Township, SOML 1298-16. Comments or questions? If not, I'll take a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Can I get a second?
I'll second.
This will be a roll call vote. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Heath?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs?
Aye.
Ms. Tucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye.
Thank you.
And I'd like to get a motion for the bill list pending the approval of individual invoices.
So moved.
Second?
Again, roll call vote. Mr. Stevenson?
Aye.
Mr. Hickey?
Aye.
Mr. Jacobs? Ms. Santucci?
Aye.
Mayor Parker?
Aye. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Third.
Aye. Good night.
Good night.
Who's got the bill list? It was right here.
I have a bill list. It's here somewhere.
Beth, don't leave.
Beth!
Beth, don't leave. Don't leave. Who needs to sign the bill list? I want Beth to give you a copy of a proposal.
Judy stole it.
Oh, okay.
There, just make sure that.
No, that's here.
Come here.
I'll see if I signed it. You know on the next one on here?
Oh, you did?